Coming up on show 915, Lucid insists Tesla are not their rivals. But who are? Stick around, you'll find out. Plus on the podcast today we have prices confirmed for new electric cars from Volvo and Fiat, Honda and Renault pulling out of diesel sales, at least here in the UK, and a famous Formula One driver, another one, entering Extreme E electric racing. Well, good morning, good afternoon or good evening wherever you're listening around the world. Welcome to EV News Daily. Here is what happened on Friday the 23rd of October. My name is Martin Lee and I go through every EV story so you haven't gotta. Thank you as always. Couldn't make this show without the gang, the team at myev.com. If you've been listening for a while, you'll know all about this, the electric vehicle marketplace. And if you are new to the podcast, you might be thinking, what? Really? There is actually a marketplace only featuring cars with plugs on? Yes, so whether it's Teslas or Chevy Bolts or Kia e-Niros or Nissan Leafs, unfortunately only in the US, you lucky sausage, if you are living there. I can't get access to this, but maybe you'll find a car near you that you like. Check out myev.com. So, if you're in the USA or Canada, we have some exciting news about what it will cost to get the Volvo XC40 Recharge pure electric version. There's the same name Recharge is used for their plug-in hybrid version. I know, it's confusing. I was saying to someone recently from Volvo, funnily enough, is that not confusing? I was being very, very polite and respectful, of course, but you can get the XC40 Recharge and the XC40 Recharge, same name, two different cars. No, this is the full electric car, and it's a gorgeous style of car. The starting price in the USA is $53,990. I'm guessing that if you can afford that for a car, then you've probably just qualified for the federal tax credit of $7,500, which I already took off the price. And if you live somewhere like my buddy Tom Malogney, who lives in New Jersey, you get some local incentives. That's like $5,000 on the hood, isn't it? Just money off the car. For my Canadian listeners, you'll be paying $64,950 Canadian dollars. So the XC40 from Volvo has the same underpinnings as the Polestar 2. It's all-wheel drive, has a 78 kilowatt-hour battery. The software is Google, not Android Auto as in plug your mobile phone in, like it literally runs on Google. So if you do live in that Android world and you get Google Assistants, Google Maps, all of the Google apps, you'll be very well at home. I kind of have a foot in both camps. Well, I'd say that. I've got a foot in three camps. So on my desktop right now, I'm running Windows and always have done. I've got a MacBook Air behind me. How do you right-click? It confuses me. So I'm willfully ignorant with Macs. However, I also have all of my mobile life in iOS, and then again, I tend to use the suite of products from Google. So there you go. I show everyone a little bit of love equally, and that would be handy for a car to have Google Maps and things because, you know, I'm signed into everything with my Gmail address. So, you know, I have my home, my work destinations set. For better or worse, they know everything about me and are probably selling and rinsing my data within an inch of my life, but, you know, whatever. And so it would be very handy to have a car with that closer integration with Google, at least for me. But what about you? What do you reckon? Leave a comment in the YouTube show or email me your thoughts on the kind of entertainment system that Volvo are going with, like Polestar as well. For me, the XC40, one of the best looking EVs on the market, hands down. Yes, it's an SUV, but my goodness me, we could really, really do with extra space now that we have a little fella. And all of the stuff that comes with him. I would say that the EPA official range is going to be a challenge for Volvo, challenge for the dealers as well, so they need to work out a way to communicate that and describe that to their customers, because 208 miles EPA is not true, it's not real world. And so Volvo, Polestar have been doing their own testing, but there's definitely got to be a way of communicating that to buyers because, you know, the ones that do their own research online at home will, you know, look at those EPA ranges and the efficiency of the vehicles as well and compare them to others which do have longer official ranges. But like the Porsche Taycan, something weird happens with EPA. It's a stupidly low number. It will do way more than 208 miles or 335 kilometers. an EPA anomaly. If you're like, what do you think of the Volvo XC40 and the pricing? Let me know in the comments. More BMW batteries are on the way. We brought you news recently that BMW had just made their 200,000th i3 rolling off the production line, and now I can tell you about more battery news from BMW in Germany, investing heavily in a new plant to assemble them, some investments into a new site which will be fully producing batteries from 2022 onwards. What we are talking about here is what they tend to call their fifth generation of battery and powertrain technology. That's the very latest and greatest from BMW. It's what's being used for the first time in the new BMW iX3, the SUV that is being made in China and sadly not being sold in the US. That's a real shame. It'll be used in the BMW i4 and the iNext, whatever the iNext gets renamed when it's not called the iNext. This new facility in Germany will create over 300 jobs in the EV market, which is great. Bit of pricing coming for the UK. For my UK listeners, I tweeted about this earlier today, and it had a really interesting response, actually. I haven't tallied up everything, but I think it was universally positive. The Fiat 500 electric is coming to the UK, and the pricing we now know, it's in 3 different specs, and so the first spec is a smaller battery, and then the mid and the top spec are the big battery, but you just get more fancy guff in the top one. So exciting news for UK listeners who want a small family car that's fully electric for less than £20,000, and I've already taken off the £3,500 plug-in car grant. So that's the price you pay for the entry-level model, 19,995. I think for a fully electric, incredibly stylish Italian piece of style that will look so good in your driveway, and you've got the roof down. If you get the convertible version, it's summertime. It's going to be such a popular car, and definitely a cheaper car than its similar stylish neighbours, if you like, the Mini Electric, the Honda E, all many, many thousands of pounds more. But going further, I must admit, because this base model Fiat 500 electric has only a 23.8 kilowatt hour battery, and it only charges at 50 kilowatts, and it only goes for 115 miles. And it only has a 70 kilowatt motor. So you'll be winning no drag races, and if you do put your foot down, you'll chew through that 115 miles, which is the combined cycle on WLTP, very quickly. Will you get more out of it than 115 miles? Well, if you're just poodling around town and doing some chores, probably. If you're never going above 30, 40, 50 mile an hour and loads of regen, now you get loads more out of it than that. 0 to 60 in 9.5 seconds. A 6.6 kilowatt onboard charger, but for those that want 3-phase 11 kilowatt AC charging, you can spec it as an optional extra. Then we move up to the mid-range, and this is the one that I would go for. And actually, I showed a picture to Mrs. Lee earlier today, and she said, yes, absolutely. If we can change one of our cars to something more practical, which fits pushchairs and things in, like an estate or an SUV, then we would add this to our driveway next year. The mid-range version has a 42 kilowatt hour battery, and where they've stuffed it, I've no idea. It's a tiny city Italian car with room for 42 kilowatt hours. Clearly they're using the latest, greatest technology. I don't know where the cells have come from. I spent more time than was healthy today actually trying to research, have Fiat Chrysler ever said where they're buying their cells from for the new Fiat 500? I couldn't find it. If you know, please let me know. I suspect it's LG Chem, and I suspect it's their latest technology. The latest 811 cells are in, which are probably going to be the most efficient they can get hold of. But if you know where FCA are getting their cell supply from, please do let me know. So this one is a big step up in all sorts of places. 42 kilowatt hour battery, 200 miles of range, 85 kilowatt fast charging on CCS combo plug. Nice specs in terms of a bigger touchscreen, general presentation, 87 kilowatt motor, 0 to 60 in 9 seconds. I'd go that version because it's only another £3,500. So 23.5 grand, totally worth it. Orders open December for deliveries. Man, this car is stylish if you don't need much room. And it looks so cool. It is a bespoke car. It's a bespoke platform. It's not the Fiat 500 that you see in combustion form. Oh, it looks the same, right? But underneath, totally different. It's its own car. There is a top-of-the-range version, by the way. They call it the Icon. Has the same tech specs in terms of the powertrain as the mid-range, but a bigger 10.25-inch touchscreen. It has bigger alloy wheels. The left-hand drive versions get a suicide door. Just one. You know how the BMW i3 doors open backwards? I hate that phrase, suicide doors, but that's kind of colloquially what they're called by many car people. But this is not even both sides. It's a 3+1. So it's 3 doors plus 1 door. They call it a 3+1. I say it's only coming with the left-hand drive because the suicide opening door is on the right-hand side, which would be the pavement side on left-hand drive cars. But of course, here in the UK, right-hand drive, and that doesn't really work opening into the road. However, if you need to get better access to the back seat for people, staff, baby seats, then it looks really useful. And it comes in rose gold. What's not to love? It matches your MacBook Pro. And all the cars come with level 2 autonomy, so advanced driver assistance systems, traffic lights recognition, autonomous braking, lane keep, all that kind of stuff that other car companies would tell you is full self-driving. Let's talk about Honda and Renault pulling away from combustion in the UK. 2 bits of big news. This isn't about EVs. This is about what EVs are doing to the market. Firstly, the news that Honda won't be selling any more diesel cars. And secondly, Renault have totally pulled away from diesel. Here's a company that embraced diesel not too many years ago. In fact, they'll have one model on sale, the Megane, with a diesel engine in. It's more proof that diesel is finally going the way of the dodo, and that's on top of last week's news where the Ford Fiesta ditched diesel. Good. Everyone should be ditching dirty, disgusting, deadly diesel. It's been an incredible downward trajectory since 2015 when the emissions scandal from Volkswagen hit. There were some countries in Europe where, in some months, the share of new cars sold was 70% diesel. I mean, it's not going back many years, and countries like Italy and France were particularly enamoured with diesel. We were as well. The government got carried away with how low the CO2 emissions were and didn't think that actually, CO2 is lower with diesel and it can be more efficient, but if you stick your mouth over the exhaust pipe, it's going to be pretty bad for you. Oh, and also we put our kids in pushchairs at exhaust pipe height and push them around the streets, and there's all sorts of disgusting killers coming out the back of a diesel exhaust pipe. But yeah, we had massive tax incentives. In fact, the cars had very little vehicle excise duty. My diesel Volkswagen Golf was 20 quid a year to tax. So it was crazy. Like, the government was so enamoured with it. Anyway, in the last 5 years, fallen off a cliff. More and more car makers are slashing it entirely from their range. And that reminds me of an interesting stat I heard recently, which was earlier this year during the height of COVID. So, Q2, so April, May, June, more electric cars were sold than diesels. And I need to go look at the exact numbers on that, but I remember reading that as a stat earlier in the year, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't Volvo the first major car maker to commit to not having any diesel engines in their cars a couple of years ago? And I'll be keen to see the 2020 full year share for those various countries around the world where EVs could well do better than diesel across the entire year, because the last 3 months they're going to sell no diesels. I mean, you just wouldn't want to, if you know anyone that's about to buy a diesel and they're going to have it for 3, 4 or 5 years, please tell them it's going to be worth nothing at the end. No one's in the middle of the decade. Nobody will want to buy one of those used, apart from for a crazy low price. Okay, let's talk about MG. They're bringing more EVs than ever before to the UK. I know plenty of people have bought an MG ZS EV. They love it. And a ship just arrived from China with 2,031 MGs on board, coming into a place called Bristol. And 2/3 of those cars on board the ship were electric, either the ZS EV or the MG5. That's the newest state. Now, 2021 is being described as a tipping point for the MG brand, which has had a resurgence recently in the UK because of their embracing of cheap electric cars. And the MG5 is the first electric estate car on the market, and it's something that certainly tempts me for its sheer practicality and 200 miles of range. We bought the Renault Zoe brand new last year, Just over a year ago, he bought that from Will up at DSG in Morecambe. And nothing makes my heart sink more than turning around from the driver's seat and looking at the little fella in the baby seat behind me and seeing, I don't know, banana being mashed into the seat and thinking, great, that's a cleaning job to do when I get home. And we do keep the car in really good condition. I'm probably a little bit too fanatical about cleaning it. I know most people with kids, babies, would just let them get wrecked, but we don't. We keep it in, it's always, we spend a bit of money on keeping it in tip-top condition because we really appreciate how lucky we are to have bought a brand new car, and we don't take that for granted. So we just need more room. What do we do? An estate car would be nice. Maybe something like a Kona would be good, actually, or an e-Nero, or the MG5 is cheaper and would suit us. There are 112 MG dealers in the UK, and there's one close to me, and I drive past it occasionally, and I don't look, because I'll end up buying one. Let's talk about Lucid. Headline story today, Lucid insists Tesla are not rivals. A little piece of Lucid news from their CEO, Peter Rawlinson. Of course, formerly Tesla, formerly Model S at Tesla, and talking about their competitive set with Yahoo Finance. And he was once again insisting that Tesla is not the competition. He looks at cars like the Mercedes-Benz S-Class as the natural competition and the natural comparison to the Lucid Air. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below if you're listening to this on YouTube, or maybe email me. I'm hello@evnewsdaily.com with your thoughts on this. I'm 50-50. Like, of course, any premium electric car is swimming in that same kind of market. So Model S Plaid, Porsche Taycan, Lucid Air. If you're spending 150 grand on a car, you kind of have to consider all options. But also, I do understand his point. Tesla are increasingly focusing on the mainstream, the big sellers, the three, and increasingly the why. Cars that cost 40, 50, 60,000 pounds, and soon trucks as well. Whereas Lucid very firmly aiming at that 80,000 plus market. Look, the first one, the Lucid, is $161,500. The one that's out at the beginning of next year has 517 miles of range. That's insane. And 1,080 horsepower. And he did use the opportunity to talk about how they are, though, the most efficient EV car maker out there. The fact that Lucid is more efficient than any other car on sale. So he does throw a little bit of shade over the road at Tesla. And it's interesting to see how they just don't see. They insist publicly that Tesla are not their competition. So it's those 7 Series BMWs, those big Audis, those big Mercedes, where they want people to say, you know what, we'll go and have a drive of the Lucid, or go and have a look at that and consider that. It's an interesting point. Okay, right, let's move on with some Extreme E news next. The first of 2 motorsport stories today. An ex-Formula 1 driver and Formula 1 world champion is joining Lewis Hamilton in the Extreme E Road Racing Series and Off-Road Racing Series as well. That is Nico Rosberg. He's going to be running a team called Rosberg Extreme Racing. So, even away from the driver's seat, Rosberg and Hamilton will still be competitors. Rosberg comes from a racing family, and his father's been running a German DTM, the touring cars, as a customer of Audi for many, many years. You may have seen Nico Rosberg on his own YouTube channel, all about green tech and sustainability. He runs a green tech festival as well. He's really thrown himself into that world since he won the world title with Mercedes and decided to call it a day, and did not need to be risking his life every other weekend of the year. Fair enough, fair play. A world champion hit his goal, and now he's doing other things as well, and changing the world and ensuring that people know all about sustainability and electric technologies. Big fan of EVs, by the way. Next, the new electric car racing series is called Supercharge. Very similar to a certain brand of EV charging network. Supercharge is all about going racing with road cars, or cars that look like road cars, in other words, touring cars. Racing in the Asia-Pacific region, China, Europe, Middle East and USA. They'll be using road cars as the base, and they're targeting 2022 to go racing in collaboration with the car makers themselves. They want to reset motorsports into an electric era of road cars going racing, not with race cars like Formula E or open-wheeled series. This is all about cars that you and I would then drive to work on Monday morning, but see racing on the Sunday before. The specs for the cars will all be around 500 kilowatts of power. There'll be 8 teams with 16 cars doing a minimum of 6 laps. Looking forward to that. Fingers crossed they get off the ground. I'm sure money plays a part there in getting a new racing series going. Tesla have released self-driving beta. This is their new self-driving product. It's a total rewrite of the previous system. It's been released to a handful, by the sounds of it, like not many people over the weekend. If you've been active on social media today, though, you may have seen plenty of those well-known social media influencers who were the ones given access to the beta version of Tesla's self-driving product and encouraged to tweet and social media post about their experiences. This seems to have been a campaign to create as much noise and hype as possible around full self-driving ahead of a $2,000 price increase, which Elon initially scheduled for starting on Monday, this coming Monday. Now, last time, didn't we get... I think it was something like he tweeted in May that it'll go up in July. So that was the notice period that they were used to give. And then he was like, right, you got 3 days, like 1 working day to get your finances in order. We want an extra $2,000 from you if you don't give us the $8,000 by Monday. If people have been thinking about upgrading or existing owners wanting to put that $8,000 into their car to get full self-driving, which I noted on Twitter was the least notice people have ever been given. And goodness me, did the full force of the Tesla fanatics unleash themselves upon me on Twitter to say, well, look, most companies don't tell you about price rises, and also full self-driving is amazing, and you can have robo-taxis and it'll make you money, and besides, never ever criticize Elon Musk. We've told you that before. So yes, Twitter was particularly mean to me last night for saying, wow, 3 days notice to come up with an extra $2,000 or not is, kind of maybe misreading the room a little bit in a COVID year. But the Tesla disciples on Twitter descended upon me to give me a good kicking on that one. But I stand by the point, and then not long after, I'm not putting these two together and saying there's any connection, but shortly after I tweeted, which was hours after Elon Musk, clearly there had been something. Maybe they couldn't implement it by Monday. Maybe he did misread the room. They put it back to Thursday. So giving people a 1 week notice that the $8,000 upgrade is going to be a $10,000 upgrade from next Thursday. He also tweeted that a subscription service will be available to full self-driving, and at some point next year that will arrive. He didn't elaborate on any more details about how much it would cost or even how long you'd have to sign up for as a minimum, because if you only had to sign up for a minimum, I don't own a Tesla, but if you had to sign up for a minimum of a month at a time, and it was $100, $200, like when we do those big summer holiday trips and stuff around the country seeing friends and family, I'd absolutely buy it. It's brilliant technology. If I'm doing hundreds and thousands of miles in a road trip, my goodness me, it would keep me fresh and all those things. But in a post-COVID world, I'm just not driving as much as I used to. The idea of spending £10,000, dollars, whatever now, on a full self-driving, which isn't really self-driving, it is unthinkable. And the price will continue to go up, he says, as the system improves. The hacker, who goes by the name of Green the Only on Twitter, posted back in April, I think it was, if my memory serves, that he'd seen code in Tesla's system for this subscription plan. So when it finally arrives, it'll be well over a year since they first added the code to the cars, and it was in the Q1 2020 earnings call that Elon Musk was talking about it and saying, look, it's going to be a better investment for you to buy the system outright. Pay the full price, don't subscribe to it. And I can't possibly see how that's the case if they only have a 1 month minimum, which is why I doubt that'll be. Like, why would I spend 10 grand? And it's going to be more than 10 grand. Why would I spend 10 grand on buying it on a system that isn't complete anywhere near what's promised, which doesn't get factored into trade-in prices, which Tesla then put back on the car and charge people extra again if I put the car back into Tesla? It's a great business. Yeah, they can do what they want as a business. It just seems those people that bought the system based on a promise all these years ago, owned the car, sold the car, or the car went back, they'd paid it and didn't get anything for that, close to what was promised. They got very, very, very good technology, though, and it's very hard to criticize Tesla or Elon Musk or offer an alternative opinion on social media without people diving in with both feet, and because they presume that you're criticising everything, and people can't get their head around that you can have two opposing views. You know, an intelligent, self-critical person can have two views. I rate very, very highly what they've done. I can recognise it's not anywhere near what was promised by now. So, I don't know. The amount that you need to pay is going to go up, and Elon Musk said back on the Q1 earnings call that he thinks that it's worth $100,000. Some EV writers not impressed with self-driving beta, though. An article today on Jalopnik was not very complimentary about self-driving beta, which has been released to those hardcore Twitter followers who have been posting videos all day about it. The writer there, Jason, says he's impressed at full self-driving as a very, very good level 2 driver assistance system. Lane keep is pretty good on it, and even lane change is, pretty good. We can't do that here because of regulations. We have to still confirm with the indicator stalk, but he does not feel it's any way deserving of the title self-driving. He says the cars are not capable of driving themselves safely. He points out the disclaimer, which Tesla make you agree to, which shows on screen, which says, the car may do the wrong thing at the worst time. You must always keep your hands on the wheel and pay extra attention to the road. In Tesla's words. This particular writer says that for all that it can do, it should be recognised as a great level 2 system, and like every other great level 2 system on the market. He says it's very clever, goes around objects, it'll do roundabouts and forks in the road, but whilst you have to be looking at the road with your hands on the wheel, he says that the name self-driving is misleading. He calls it deeply impressive. But the more that the car does, and the more that the uninitiated, like not the hardcore Tesla fans, but the kind of people, as this gets rolled out to the million cars possibly that are in the fleet, however many people have that option to get this new version, the more people who don't take an interest in the nerdiness and that nerdy side of it and think that they can trust the car, the more that the car gets better, the more people trust it. And therefore, the less they concentrate. And I think I kind of agree with that side of it, actually. It is so good that I find myself trusting in the cars that I have driven. I don't own one. It's so good. I find myself trusting it. The first 30 seconds is pant-wettingly terrifying. And then you go, oh, this is great. This just works brilliantly. Until it doesn't. And then you do have to have your wits about you. He also points out that real self-driving trials that are happening in the US have to be permitted by the state in which they're operating, and Tesla are not permitted as a self-driving company. It's just very good driver assistance. Anyway, agree or disagree, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. I'm just putting it out there as an alternate view, and it's okay to disagree with that. We don't have to live in a bubble. He says, looking across the pond at a very divided political campaign at the moment, where everyone seems to be encouraged to side with your own side and attack the other. It kind of makes me a little bit sad because, mixing around ideas is what makes life fun. It's good to go, oh, I was wrong. I agree with you now. Anyway. Doesn't seem you can do that in the year 2020, does it? Finally, LG Chem has an outstanding third quarter. They had a record quarter in terms of sales and profits. Revenues were $6.61 billion. It's a brand new record. LG Chem supply many European EVs, and now Tesla as well with cylindrical cells. Plus, they've been talking about LG Chem themselves making a new cell using matching the dimensions, the form factor of Tesla's new 4680, which kind of came out of nowhere. So maybe they're developing that form factor themselves. Maybe they're licensing it, which would be a nice little bit of royalty, recurring revenue for Tesla if it is a deal with them. I know no more details, but that was interesting. Well, thank you for listening to the podcast today. That's your show. Give me your thoughts online, leave a comment, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. There are 914 previous shows in the archive, wherever you get your podcasts from. Check out the blog at evnewsdaily.com, and please do subscribe so you haven't got to think about downloading the show every single day. You get it automatically if you subscribe to the podcast, and please do share this with anybody who you think might like to hear about EVs every day. Thank you to our premium partners, Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Porsche of the Village in Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, nationalcarcharging.com, EvaReview.com and AlohaCharge.com, Derek Riley from the EV Review Ireland YouTube channel, Richard at rsimons.co.uk. They are the electric vehicle specialists. I will mention all of the Patreons tomorrow because I'm going to do a bonus Saturday show this week. I have so much news left over from having done a dedicated Hummer show and a dedicated Tesla show yesterday. I'm kind of drowning in stuff that I want to talk to you about and discuss with you. So there'll be a bonus Saturday show this week, and I'll give all the patrons an extra mention then. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll catch you either for the bonus show tomorrow or Monday for a brand new week. Oh, do remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.